Welcome, friends! All right, today we're going to go ahead and we're going to use Ignite 2 to build a very popular application. Now, Ignite 2 is the extension of Ignite 1, where we actually go ahead and we have boilerplates and modular plugins, and we're going to use it today to build the Textables app. Now, Textables is an app that allows you to go ahead and use ASCII art emoji to send to your friends and copy it to your clipboard. And it was written by a friend of mine, Mark Rickert. Now, Mark open sources his apps so that we can go ahead and take a look at it here. And here it is on my phone. You can see a long list of funny faces and icons. And you can actually favorite which ones that you like, and they will show up here at the top. And so what we're going to do is we'll scroll down, we'll choose the cheers, and we'll copy that to our clipboard. And then we could switch on over to an application and paste it in there so we can look like a genius to our friends. Now, Mark has all these faces online in a content JSON file, and the colors are there and available for us to go ahead and use. So we'll go ahead and start building Textables. And we'll be building an abbreviated version of it today in under 15 minutes, but I'll be happy to go ahead and rejoin and add all the additional assets that we are needing later on. We're going to start off simply by igniting a new project with Ignite New, and you could use N here if you're lazy, Textables, and we're going to go ahead and feed in our latest boilerplate. Now, I like to use the advanced boilerplate because I like to test out our features that are coming down the stream, and additionally, this helps me keep this video up to date and common because, of course, this is the area that's going to age out the fastest. Okay, so now it's going to ask us some setup questions, and these setup questions are going to continue to grow as our ecosystem of plugins grow. And if you're familiar with Ignite 1.0, of course, you know the dev screen, so this is something we're going to mark yes for here. And then additionally, it's going to ask us about the other aspects. We're just going to simply say yes to each of these, including internationalization. Now, if later on, perhaps, you were more interested on adding these features later, it's as simple as typing ignite add and then the plugin name, and then we can add these features at that time. This will take a little while, so time to get some coffee.
Cover!
That's really Frank's entire job.
Iced tea!
All right, it looks like our application is completely finished now. So we can CD into the folder that it created. And let's give it a little test run just to make sure everything came out perfectly. We're going to do this with a run iOS. And since this is the first time that it's compiling, I've sped up the video just a little bit here because this is definitely going to take a while. All right, our application runs and we see our Ignite launch screen. Now, this is fantastic. And of course, down here, since we said yes to our developer options, we have our developer screens, and we can see different aspects of that here. For instance, the themes are listed, and you've probably seen all this part before. Additionally, the plugins that we said yes to, there they are, the 3 different plugins: internationalization, vector icons, and animatable. So we'll click close here to move on. And let's make sure our site's live. So I'm going to open an editor. And I'm going to move to our launch screen specifically, so that way we can edit it and make sure everything is going smoothly. I'll just add a little bit to the front here. And there we go. You can see it edited and reflected in hot reloading. Okay. So now the key is in the actual application that we're trying to emulate. Looks like we are going to need a grid list view, right? So if you see here, it's a collection of faces in grid format with sections. So we can simply do this with a Ignite generating a list view here. Okay. And with the generated list view, looks like yes, we will want it in grid form. And yeah, it's definitely not a single, it is with sections. So we'll say yes there. Our files got generated, and you see on the right side, our application has updated, but we don't see the updated screen. And that's simply because inside our navigation stack, we have not set that to be our launch screen. If you look at the top, you can see that we have specifically edited and added stack. And here inside of the initial routes, we can set that to our new screen here. And saving here, voila, reflected on the right side. This is a good start. Now, first things first, we need to do some style updates. So we're going to go into our application, and we're going to grab this particular file, and we can open the file itself as well as the styles file, which is in the style folder. Now let's take a quick tour of what we have here. Here inside the actual file, you can see the data objects. They're loaded on the right side here. And then you can notice there's steps 1, 2, 3, and identifying exactly how you're going to build your list view. As we move over to the actual style file, you can see that the width is the problem why we have 3 instead of 2. So something we can do is use our metrics up here, and we can set it to the screen width divided by 2. And let's add in a little bit of padding on side. So we'll use metrics again, and we'll use double base margin. Save the file, and look, already looking more like the application already. And as it shows, it has the sections 1 and 2 with the different section titles inside of the cells themselves. Now we're going to go ahead and fix up these colors so we look a little bit more like the actual application. We'll go down to our themes folder, and we will select colors. And inside of here, we're going to change our background. All right, starting to look like it a little bit more. Then we'll choose our, let's see, we have frost. We can go ahead and change frost to look a little bit more like the other color that we want. Another advantage of using names that aren't actual real colors. And then inside of our actual application, we'll make the rows use frost in the background. Looks good. Obviously we need our text to pop out a little bit more, so we can go ahead and adjust that. We'll set this to charcoal. Okay, looks pretty good, but I think we can make it pop out a little bit more. So let's go ahead and set the text for our entire application to black. And then we'll go ahead and use the text here instead of charcoal. All right, looking like the app even more. What we'll do now is we're going to go get the actual data. And like I said, Mark open sources his applications. So we can actually go to GitHub here, and we see the faces file that he has. Now, one of the things that he's doing here is he has an array of objects and then a category of faces with a set of items on it. Well, since he's reusing keys, he has to open up a new object each and every time. I'm going to adjust this just a little bit so that way we actually use the category as the key. This will allow us to condense down. I went ahead and already did this and put it on a gist on GitHub for us, and we're going to grab this file instead. As you can tell, the browser believes that all these faces are in Vietnamese. You can just go ahead and copy anyway. So we'll grab all these faces. And additionally, we're going to pretend like we're pulling this from an API source. So for now, we're going to go ahead and put this in a fixture. And so we open our fixtures folder, and we can drop in a JSON file. The fixtures folder is fantastic for actually doing some sort of local testing, so that way you don't have to worry about the API, but additionally it allows us to drop the data in locally as well. As you can see, it's an object with a key with an array, and that's exactly how the data object wants to be in this particular set of sections. We have an object key that feeds an array of objects inside there. So we can switch this out by simply requiring our fixture in its place. And then when we save, we actually don't see any of the stuff actually transfer over here. And the reason is because we're looking inside of render row for a title and a description for a label. And as you can see in the actual data, it's the name and the art. So the object types don't actually match one-to-one. We can simply change that by pulling off the properties that we actually want and by saving that here. Oh, we can get rid of the sections as well. Ta-da! All right, we've got our application. It's starting to really look the right way. We have all the faces loaded in, and at the title here, you can see it says second section and second section. Well, that's because inside the code where it actually loads what to say inside the sections, we're looking at the section ID in a switch statement, and then we're identifying what string to go ahead and place in this row. But instead, we're really just going to feed our section ID straight into the title of what's going on here so we can get rid of this piece. And then additionally, we can just enter in our section ID directly into here. And there we go. So now you can see we have faces, we have emotions, we have different pieces, and each section is actually read, including Why God Why, which is fantastic. All right, so now we have this part set up. We need to be sure to click on these things and actually have them work directly into the clipboard. So we're going to take these little views that we have set up inside of our row render, and we're going to switch out the view that we have for a touchable opacity. A touchable opacity is a native part of React Native, so we'll pull that in up top. Okay, and then we'll use that instead of a view to contain each of these cells. This allows us to go ahead and have a clickable set, and when we click on it, the opacity changes ever so slightly, allowing us to actually get some kind of feedback that we're clicking on those particular buttons in those cells. And then, since it is a touchable opacity, it will have an onPress property. The onPress property is going to allow us to tie in and copy that particular set of art to our clipboard. So we'll bring in clipboard from React Native as well. We'll start our onPress property here inside of the touchable opacity. We'll do an arrow function, and then we'll just simply call clipboard set string. And we'll pass in this particular row's data and the art. So this will copy the art portion of the data that's being passed through. And there's no real way for me to explain or show that this is actually working. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a small text box to the bottom. This is completely for demonstration purposes only. We'll just put a text input here. And I'm going to do some inline styles. I feel like this is the only time that's actually okay or legal. It's something that's just temporary. It doesn't need to be placed for forever because we're going to rip this out. And let's make sure this is aligned center. Excellent. So when we close this up, make sure that we have a text input up here at the top. And there you go. You can see it over here on the right. That means that I can type inside here, and this is as if we were typing inside of a chat. So now if I scroll around, find a particular piece of art that I like, place it here and paste it, and there you go, pretending that I was sending this to a friend. There you go. That's the downloaded over 26,000 times Textables app written in under 15 minutes in Ignite 2. Now, there's a little bonus feature I'd like to add real quick. Mark didn't have time to build this particular application for Android. He did it only for iOS. We wrote this in React Native. So that means that we could simply go ahead and load this up, and all the code you saw here is 100% compatible. Through the magic of video, we'll go ahead and make Android compile instantaneously. And that's it! We used Ignite 2 to build an app in iOS and Android in under 15 minutes. Additionally, you can hang out with us while we build more of this application and future applications and release videos on infinite.red, or join us in the community with community.infinite.red.